Hello, everyone, and welcome back to season 3 of Verifiably Random. And as you know, we love to share awesome stories and deep dives into the Algorand ecosystem, the applications, and the founders doing incredible work in blockchain and Web3. Make sure to stick around to the end because each episode we also feature an update from our head of DeFi, Fred Estante. So make sure to stay all the way to the end. So today, talking about DeFi, today we're going to do a deep dive into the DeFi experience on Algorand and all the awesome things that the Algorand ecosystem has to offer. And so we have two special guests here today. Of course, we have Fred, our head of DeFi, and we also have Joseph Cecala, who is our product and marketing manager for the Pera Wallet. Welcome, Fred and Joseph.
Hey, Marc.
Hey, Marc. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with, for the people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hey, everyone. I'm Fred Estante. I've been around the Algorand ecosystem for about 5 years now, here in the foundation for 3, and I currently lead DeFi here at the foundation.
And I'm Joseph. I run the product and marketing for Pera Wallet. So everything from coming up with the new feature ideas to the implementation to the marketing at the end. I'm involved at every step of the process. I work with the team to make sure that the feedback that the customers are giving are represented in our product itself.
And Joseph, what's your Twitter handle?
Loaf Pickle.
There you go. There you go. So I was just reminding people because they may know Loaf Pickle, they might not know it's you. So now they can actually make the connection. So who of the two is the biggest degen?
Oof, I don't know. Sell your pitch, Joseph. Sell your pitch.
Okay. So I got into Algorand like the 2021 season, and I was fully into NFTs. I thought they were going to be the hottest thing ever. So if I look back, I probably spent $30,000 to $40,000 on NFTs over the course of my career. Here, it's dipping into DeFi too. Circulating the algo, stimulating NFT sales, DeFi things. So I'm pretty up there, but I seen some DeFi numbers, and I think Fred might got me beat on this one.
I don't know, Fred, what you have to say for yourself.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not even going to try to compete with Joseph on the NFT front. I certainly own a few, but nowhere near the levels of Joseph. So I'd certainly give him that one. But on the other side of things, maybe the only thing I'll say is that I think it was between 2016 and 2018 or 19, I mined Dogecoin. I had a little mining operation, and I mined Dogecoin, and I completely forgot about the wallet for years. And then, early 2020, all the craziness that was happening, I was stuck at home cleaning up my hard drive, and I found like this backup of my old Dogecoin wallet that I had completely forgot about it. Of course, I forgot about it for 3 years, but I found it like 6 months too early. So I just sold the entire thing for maybe, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000. And then a few months later, I think, Elon discovered about it. So had I forgotten about it for just an extra few months, I think life would be pretty different now. But that's my Doge story.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. So
not so good to say, Marc. Not so good to say.
as you everything, timing is everything.
Time is everything. Yes.
And you forgot the basic principle. So I think Joseph wins this competition because any degen knows you need to hodl. No.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I sold into something else, right? It's not that I converted to fiat, but hey, I think keeping the Doge would have been better. But hey, water under the bridge. We'll find the next one.
Okay, so let's get into our DeFi ecosystem. So what makes DeFi on Algorand unique compared to other networks? Fred, what are your thoughts on that topic?
That's a really easy question to answer for anyone that has tried DeFi in any other chain and then they come to Algorand and they give it a try here, because it's all about the UX, right? Sure, you can talk about like this wide variety of different products that you can find in these different chains, and chain A has certain product that chain B doesn't have, etc. And that's of course important, and we should always try to be on the cutting edge of DeFi product development. But at the end of the day, it's really for the end user, or for the vast majority of the end users, it's all about the user experience, right? It's all about the UX. And I spent a lot of time playing around DeFi, of course, in our ecosystem, that's where we grew up, but also in other ecosystems. And I've been in all these other major L1s out there, even some L2s. Don't show me for this, but I played around DeFi over there. And the experience is just not good. And I'm not trying to diss or anything, but it's just like you do a transaction, the amount, like the fees that's going to cost, the gas, etc. It's non-predictable. It's hard to figure out in advance. But most importantly, sometimes it's super slow. it doesn't confirm, it's a thing, Mark, that, you, Joseph, and everybody, like, we always keep beating on the same drums, but it is reality. On Algorand, everything is just predictable. It works, it's smooth, it's fast, and it's reliable. If you submit a transaction, it's going to go through. You don't have to wait around several blocks or several minutes to figure out if our transaction went through or not. So even though our ecosystem is not huge, it's certainly strong, and we have all the basic building blocks already there. You have your lending market, your AMMs, your staking pools, your farms, etc. So you have all the basic building blocks there that allow you to have a very fun DeFi experience. But then just doing this on Algorand, which the layer 1 itself is super performant, is just a whole different level of user experience. So I'm certainly spoiled. I still play around other ecosystems every now and then just because, I want to keep tabs on what they're doing. But it's always a pleasure coming back home,
Joseph, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything Fred said. But, working at Pera, it's usually about the user experience and like what a first-time crypto user or first-time user Algorand is looking to see. And with Algorand itself, all assets here are native objects on the chain, which makes it so much simpler to understand what is actually happening. So, for example, you want to send your friend 10 USDC. On other chains, sometimes you have to call a smart contract application. You have to figure out how to read the code in order to make sure that this transaction is doing what it's saying it's doing. Other chains have to go through all these, have third-party products that read the transcription for you. It just creates an overall confusing experience for the end user. But on Algorand, it's a lot easier. You want to send 10, and when the transaction comes up to sign, it says, I'm sending 10 to this person, and that's the end of it. So the chain itself really simplifies down the user experience for end users to make it really simple and easy to understand. So using crypto for the first time does not have to be intimidating. And I think that's really where the advantage lies with Algorand.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because I think at some point you get, if you're like a degen and you have a lot of experiences like with Web3, standard Web3 applications, you kind of get numb to the experience, right? Because you're kind of so used for it to be so bad that at some point you don't kind of recognize or notice it anymore. And then when you actually see the Algorand experience next to it, it's kind of breath of fresh air. Like it feels like a Web 2 experience almost, not a Web 3 experience. And so that to me was interesting. And specifically, like I remember using one of our routers, and that's pretty complex, right? If you use a router and your swap gets split up into like 5 components and they all get executed, and you take it, and of course, as we all know, under the surface, you take advantage of atomic grouping, so everything goes through, everything fails. And so that really creates like a very, very smooth experience for something that's very, very complicated, because behind the scenes, there might be, 10 transactions or 15 transactions being executed at the same time. And that's something that you see in other chains that will fail midway, or you could get all kinds of like potential bad experiences and bad outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. We actually have an update that's going to be coming soon too. So based on the atomic group transactions, we can actually calculate before the transaction goes through the balance impacts. So with all those complicated interactions, we're going to sum everything down to you so you can understand exactly at the front, like, I swapped this and I got this. It'll make the whole experience even easier for the users. But, the DeFi ecosystem has really advanced a lot over the last couple of months and years. So, taking advantage of all these opportunities is our focus going into the next year.
Yeah. So let's do, Joseph, let's do a little bit of a deep dive on Pera. So how does what's the role of the Pera Wallet within that DeFi ecosystem, and how does Pera help users engage with these DeFi apps?
Yeah, of course. So at Pera, we see ourselves as basically the front door to Algorand. If you want to use anything on Algorand, Pera is basically the go-to wallet. So for users interacting with DeFi apps like Folks Finance, Compx, and Pact, we have them integrated in multiple ways. For example, Folks Finance, any of these dApps, you can go through our Discover page where we list out all the dApps in the ecosystem. So somebody that's new to Algorand, they could easily go to this page, start looking up what are the DEXs, what are the lending protocols, things like that, and be able to find the products that they want very easily. But we've been doing more native integrations inside the app. So for example, with Folk Finance, Compx, and Pact, they all participate in staking on Algorand, which went live this January. So you could find them there and be able to easily stake your algos and start earning on that. In addition to that, with Folks Finance, they have a router where you could swap. We have that integrated into our swap platform. So the way that works is we go through the routers in the ecosystem and we find the rates from each of them, and then we'll provide you with the best quote. But we just pushed out an update where you could actually pick it yourself. So let's say if you want to use Spokes Finance because they're having a promotion, or you want to use Compx because they're having a promotion, you could switch between the routers and be able to specify that way too. So it's just another way that we're expanding the ecosystem out.
Yeah, interesting. And so, I think this may sound basic for a number of our listeners, but with the Algoland campaign, we have a lot of new users coming into our ecosystem, and that's kind of the whole point of the Algoland campaign, is to really showcase what Algoland can do, and give people like a broad experience of all the projects that are available in our ecosystem. So a lot of the users that are probably going to listen to this episode are going to be new to Algorand. So what do you think, Joseph, are the features in Pera that you find the most valuable for first-time DeFi users?
Yes. So we really try to kind of make the user experience very friendly so people can find it. So for example, with Algoland, we made a huge update right before the launch of the campaign in order to make discoverability of the events and tracking of where you are in the campaign very easy, especially for first-time users. So when you open up Pera, there's going to be a big banner that's there waiting for you saying, "Take me to Algoland." Also in the Discover section, we have a whole modal that we built that allows you to kind of see week to week what the event is, what the quest is. And also, once you connect your wallet, you'll be able to see your points. So from there, it's very easy for an existing Algoland user to not only rejoin the campaign, but also kind of track their progress as the campaign goes on. In addition to that, we're also going to be partnering with this AI company that allows for more targeted notifications by using an AI agent. So this is another way that we can help re-engage those Algoland users and those first-time users and really help them guide them through the whole Algoland journey, and by extension using Algorand and using all the dApps that are on it.
Yeah. So last question for you, Joseph, on Pera. So talk to us a little bit about security and like how safe it is to use Pera. What are some of the security features that are kind of built into the platform?
Yeah, of course. So we take security extremely seriously. It's like the main thing a wallet has to get right is the security aspect. So Pera Wallet is unique in the space for a few reasons. Like, we're one of the few fully open source wallets. Like, you could check out our development repos on GitHub and be able to check out everything. But in addition to that, I mean, Algorand has so many built-in security features natively that helps a lot. For example, like the native objects we were talking about. Things like smart contract drains that you see on other chains really aren't possible due to the layer 1 objects of Algorand. It makes it very difficult to do something like that. But we also upped our security in ways. Like, for example, if you try to reveal your seed phrase, we put these warning signs in that you just have to check to make sure that, they're not phished. In addition to that, we added protections around rekey transactions, so users can't sign a transaction and lose access to their account. So it's really up to us to not make security feel overwhelming to the end user, but just give them those gentle assurances in the background that we're keeping your funds and keys safe.
I think Joseph nailed it. I think it was incredible. Just one point that occurred to me during this is that we're seeing, this huge influx of new users to Algorand through Algoland. By seeing the chatter on socials, even though the numbers are huge and they're new to Algorand, it doesn't mean that all of them are new to blockchain. Some of them actually seem pretty advanced. So I think maybe just one point to add in this very last point that Joseph mentioned is that Pera has full support for hardware wallet, right? For Ledger. So a lot of users out there, they're the more advanced users, or maybe there are more serious degen traders out there, full support for Ledger as well to keep you even safer, right? I don't know, Joseph, if there's anything that you want to add in that front, but I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's perfect. We have a web wallet that supports the USB Ledger devices, but the Bluetooth ones, you can connect them to Android or iOS and it'll work fine. So we really that was one of the first features of Pera, to be honest.
Yeah, great. So let's do a deep dive on the dApps themselves. So we are in week 3 of Algoland. And so there's a couple of dApps that we are focused on as part of Algoland. There's Fox Finance, of course, there's Pact, and there's Compx, and there's a number of other ones as well, of course, in our DeFi ecosystem that we can briefly talk about. Let's start with Fox Finance.
So, it's already the mid of the week of the DeFi week here in Algoland. So I'm pretty sure, everybody listening in, they have already played around, but it's always good to just do a quick overview of all of these products, right? So as you mentioned, Marc, this week we're focusing on Fox Finance, on Pact and Compx, but there are several other DeFi projects out there as well that are going to be featured, in later weeks throughout the Algoland. But it's important to note now, So maybe starting with Folks Finance, because Folks Finance is the TVL leader on Algorand. Last I checked a couple of days ago, I think it was like $120 million of TVL or something like this. Probably even higher now. I haven't really checked in the last couple of days. But Folks Finance is basically like a full-blown lending market with Algo, USDC, wrapped assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, other layer 1 tokens, tokenized metals, etc. Basically, all the main things that you want to degen on, you can do there on Folks Finance. And then recently, they also launched an isolated market, which is just basically a way that you can deposit some ecosystem tokens to also use them as collateral. So as of now, you can use Tinyman's Tiny token, and there are more to come. But bottom line is, it's a full-blown lending market that also has other functionality. So as you both mentioned before, Folks Finance has a router that you can do swaps through their router. They have staking, so you can participate in Algorand staking, receive the rewards through their LST, which allows up to 4x leverage. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you can do it. Folks Finance also has the functionality for Ultra Swap, which allows you to leverage up or down on Algo, BTC, ETH with a lot of leverage. So quite interesting for those degen traders out there as well. And some other features that are coming up soon. But Folks Finance, certainly the largest DeFi protocol on Algorand. Then we get into the trading options.
And the other interesting about Folks Finance, they have a TGE event coming up pretty soon, right?
Yes. You wanna share more about it, Marc? I feel like you want to.
I just know that they have an event coming up. I don't know much of the details. I was hoping to get some alpha through you.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's any alpha that I can share, but I would just say to the Algo fam that, a few days ago, the episode, we released an episode of Verifiably Random in which Min interviewed Benedetto, and there's plenty of alpha there. So if by any reason you missed that episode, Algo fam, just go check it out. I think Benedetto shares all and more than I can share. Okay, so just go check it out. But yeah, that's going to be a massive TG. I think we're all looking forward to that.
That's a good
Thanks for the plug, Marc.
Follow up to the podcast. I love that.
Yeah, and then Benedetto, if you're listening to this, it's markvl.algo. Okay, so you guys can settle the tab later, right? But jokes aside, so we talked about Folks Finance, but going into the trading, which is like the real fun stuff, like what I've been talking about from the beginning in the podcast here today. There are a lot of avenues that you can just swap assets on Algorand. So you have Pact, which is the featured DEX this week in Algoland, but you have several other options as well. You have Tinyman, which is also the OG DEX on Algorand. You have Ultrade, and you have Haystack. So going very briefly to all of this, starting maybe with Tinyman. Tinyman is the OG DEX on Algorand. They have like a standard automated market maker pool, very, very nice interface, great UI, UX. And they recently launched a pretty cool functionality that I think it's great for most of the users out there, especially the degens like we were discussing before, which is the ability for trigger and recurring orders. Basically saying is that now you can do limit orders on the AMM. So say, hey, I want to buy asset A or sell asset A at a specific price point. So you just put your order there, and then whenever the Oracle finds that your asset is crossing that specific mark, it executes the trade for you. And there's also the recurring order functionality, which is basically say, hey, I want to buy asset A, but maybe I want to buy $100 of it. But I don't want to buy $100 right now because, maybe volatility is too high. So you know what? Just buy $5 worth of it every hour for the next, 12 hours, whatever it is. Maybe I messed up my math, but you get the point. You can just like set up a schedule, and then the system automates the buying or selling for you at that schedule, which just allows you to make a price, a time-weighted price average on the asset, right? So that's pretty cool functionality that Tinyman launched recently. Then you have Pact, which is also one of the most prominent DEXs on Algorand. And they have a pretty cool product they launched earlier this year, which are the CCLPs, the Consensus Compatible Liquidity Pools. And I always say that's low because, it's a mouthful, but it's basically a way that allows you, if you want to provide liquidity. So let's say, hey, I want to be a liquidity provider for Algo and USDC. You can do that. And at the same time that you're earning the fees that are being originated by all the swaps in the liquidity pool, you're also earning staking rewards from protecting the Algorand blockchain on the Algo side of things, because they take the Algos from the liquidity pool, stake, they increase the security of the network, of the Algorand network, and you get the staking rewards for that. So it's a pretty cool product as well that is gaining traction, and it's fun to use, and it's just an extra revenue source. Other than Tinyman and Pact, which are both standard automated market maker DEXs, we have Ultrade. And Ultrade is a club, a central limit order book, which, it's also a mouthful, but it's basically the same thing that you see when you go either to your TradFi experience and you want to buy and sell a stock and have an order book, etc., or you just go to a centralized crypto exchange, like the Binance's, Coinbase's of the world, in which you have an order book and you can see all the bids and asks there. There's no market depth, etc. That's the same thing you can do on Ultrade. So it is a great platform. It can be excellent for the advanced users, but also just for the regular user, right? So it gives everybody a chance to participate and do excellent trades at specific price point that you're looking at. And Ultrade has launched recently. It's starting to gain traction. It's a very cool product that already has some deployments in the Algorand ecosystem. And maybe sharing a little bit of alpha, Marc, because I know you're always asking me for the alpha. There are more deployments coming very soon. Stay tuned. And also, I think now I can say, because Dan Goldman, the CEO and founder of Ultrade, has already spilled the beans on X. So I think now I'm free to say that he has been working on a perp dex. So Algorand is going to get a perp dex through Ultrade in the near future. So stay tuned, because there's some really cool stuff coming from that team very soon. But aside from Ultrade in the club, then we also have the recently launched Haystack app, right? Which I think everybody here is super bullish and a big fan of it. And Marc, you keep talking about it all the time, and it's a super exciting product that basically allows people to do DeFi trading in a very easy way. So most of the complications and the blockchain part of things is really abstracted away, right? And it's just like super simple for you to swap in and out of an asset, see what's trending from all the meme coins. I think the degens love that kind of stuff because it's very flashy and beautiful and shiny. And then it's very gamified. So there's a lot of rewards to be made there by referring people. So it's just like a very cool and nice to use dApp that allows you to play around DeFi in a very easy manner. But let me make a stop here, see if there's anything that you guys want to add before I continue on.
I think that's Haystack in particular, I think is a very smooth. I think it's very smooth Web2 mobile native experience, which is really cool. And I really like their referral system. Their referral system is so cool. Basically, for every person that you refer, you will get a portion of the transaction fees that they generate when they trade, and you get them paid in the token that the other person is trading. So you start seeing all of these rewards come to you in all of these kind of tokens that other people have bought. And that's pretty cool, because you see this is a new way to discover. It's another way to discover new tokens. So I think it's a very cool referral system.
It's fantastic, Marc. And your sales pitch for these things is so good that I get confused if it's a great sales pitch just because you're the chief strategy and marketing officer of Algorand, or you because you're like on this guy's payroll, because your pitches are really sharp, okay? So
And I have a referral code that I'm happy to share with anybody.
I knew that was coming, Marc. I knew that was coming. Cool. No, but thanks for that. It's truly like an incredible experience to use Haystack, and I highly encourage everybody to just check it out. It's a great app, really fun to use, and those referrals are always fun to get, right? And then just to wrap up on the feature projects of the week is Compx, and Compx is truly like a Swiss knife of DeFi tools on Algorand. So if you go to their app, like it's not a single product. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. It's really it caters to the DeFi users, the degen users. It caters to even builders in the ecosystem, because on the Compx app, you basically have all the core functionality that you expect. So you have basically farming pools, staking pools, you have liquid staking because they have their own LST. So you can, protect the network, receive rewards for that. They just recently launched a couple days ago the restaking on it. So, even more ways to get rewarded for protecting the network. You have token streams, which is just like a really cool functionality, especially for like the builders and the meme coin launchers and all those people out there, that allows you to put tokens into basically like a vesting schedule. So it only unlocks, certain amounts at certain periods of time. So it just makes that whole flow like really easy. For others, you have maybe the core business of Compx today are the CDPs, the collateralized debt positions, which is it's a style of lending markets, but for single assets. So let's say you have maybe wrapped Bitcoin, you can go there and you can deposit your wrapped Bitcoin, and then you can use that as collateral and borrow your XUSD which is Compx's decentralized over collateralized stablecoin. You can borrow that against her collateral. And I gave one example of wrapped Bitcoin, but if you go there, there's dozens and dozens of different assets that you can do, starting from the big, beautiful assets that everybody likes, the Bitcoins and Ethereums and Algos of the world, going all the way down to like the craziest meme coins on Algorand, even real world assets. So there's a few residential properties from Lofty that you can use as collateral to borrow stablecoin against it and just do your own thing. So it's really nice products, and the team like is on a tear. They keep building, they keep launching new products every day. They currently have a lending market on testnet called Orbital that they are just pushing through, and hopefully it's going to come to mainnet in the next few weeks or months. But it's a really interesting project, and the founder the founding team and Kieran is just like on a roll. They don't stop. They're always building. So I highly recommend the entire Algo fam, the old and the new Algo fam, to check out Compx as well.
There's a very nice way for people to kind of check out Compx and some of the other protocols as well, and that's Algoland, right? So we are now in week 3 of Algoland. So the first week was all about signing up, referring your friends. Week 2, which was last week, was all about prediction markets and trying out for Arcade. Week 3 is DeFi week. So we are in the middle of DeFi week. So Joseph, tell us a little bit more about the challenges and the quests that people need to do this week, specifically with the DeFi protocols that are listed.
Yeah, of course. So this is DeFi week. 3 featured dApps this week are Folks Finance, Compx, and Pact. So if you're a new user and you want to participate, simply download Pera. We have the links to Algoland right in front of your face when you download it, or if you go to the Discover section, you can find it there as well. Just know you can do the past quests, and if you want to get more points, you can complete the often the campaign. You can do your Alpha Arcade bets as well. But you go right through there, and it's a bunch of different tasks. So for Folks Finance, you would deposit onto the platform. So this is their farm yields. You could also swap using their Folks router as an alternate. For Compx, it's minting an X NFT. That's the NFT that they have on their platform, or you can swap for Algo. And then on Pact, it's performing a swap. We could also add liquidity to a pool, or you could join a yield farm. So there's a bunch of different ways during this week where you could come in and test different platforms and do a bunch of different DeFi functionalities and really explore the ecosystem itself.
Great. And for every quest that you complete, you get 1,000 points, right?
Yes.
Yes. And the people that you've referred, if they complete the quest, you get 300 additional points per person that you referred. So actually the number of points that you can gather and you can claim is actually going up significantly the more people you've referred.
Correct. It's way better to do this with friends.
Yeah. So one question that's come up specifically from first-time users that download Pair for the first time, how do I get algos in my account? I set up a new account. The account is empty. There's no algos in it, and I think there's some onboarding you can do, on-ramping you can do it through Pera, but it's not in every single country. So can you talk a little bit about that? How do you get algos in your account if you're a new Pera user?
Okay. So if you're outside of the United States, simply click on the buy sell button right inside the app. We have region specific partners. You could easily on-ramp. Like for example, if you're from Europe, you can use your Revolut account to easily send algo right to your Pera wallet. Otherwise, if you're in the US, using a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange or a cross-exchange swap would probably be the easiest way to send algo in. But it's very simple though. You just once you create an account, just copy the address and then just use it to send. And what's great about using Algorand is your funds will hit your wallet before you can open up Pera. It's one of the coolest things about the chain and just shows off how the speed and the instant finality of the chain work.
Great. So let's talk about success. What does success look like for DeFi projects on Algorand? What do these projects look at? Do they look at user growth, engagement? What are the metrics that most of these projects are interested in?
That is an interesting question, Mark, because I think it's twofold, right? Number one, you certainly want to see growth across all these key metrics that I just talked about. So you got to see your daily active users, weekly, monthly, etc. You want to see maybe the average ticket size increase over time. You want to see more activity. all of these things matter, obviously, right? It's all about growth and getting a larger user base that spends more money and does more things. But truly, bottom line, I think there's only one thing that matters for these DeFi projects, which is fee generation, right? At the end of the day, it's the only thing that truly matters. If these protocols are making enough fees for them to be, profitable, sustainable, and grow their businesses, and not only they, like the products themselves being sustainable and growing, but the users that provide the liquidity to their products, right? Either you're a provider of, Algo or USDC in a lending market, in a CDP vault, or in any of these, countless liquidity pools we have in our ecosystem. Everybody is pursuing yield, right? So it's all about having decent APYs, but not only decent APYs, but of course, this enough volume in the ecosystem that makes this entire thing worthwhile, right? So I think bottom line is that that's exactly what they're looking for. And that's a combination of a few different factors, right? It is certainly a byproduct of the number of users and the activity of the chain, but it's also a byproduct of just general macro market activity, right? So during high volatility times, everybody's happy because people are raking in fees. Doesn't matter if prices are going up or down. It doesn't matter. All it takes is the volatility and swaps going in and out of all of these pools for people to be making money, right? And I think we have seen countless graphs shared on socials about volumes and fees generated, especially in the end of 2024, early 2025, and more recently, I think things have started picking up again more strongly. And certainly, Joseph can probably share more about this. He has some great insights from the Pera side of things. But bottom line, it's all about fees generated, right? And I think most projects on Algorand now around current token price are profitable, are very close to being profitable on the project side themselves. But as you look at the yields, the APYs being generated to all these different liquidity providers, that's also some really good things happening out there. So bottom line is I think we can do a lot better, and we will do a lot better, but things are great. And some of the metrics seem pretty healthy.
Now it's time for alpha. What's happening? What's coming next? What's coming next in our DeFi ecosystem? What's coming next with Pera? Let's spill the beans. Fred, you start.
Okay, Mark, I knew you were going to pressure me into dropping so much alpha today. Maybe I'm going to give in here a little bit, okay, and just share some of the things. So it's truly, there's two core pillars that we have been focused on over the last year, right? Number one is increasing liquidity. We're very much aware that liquidity is thin in some pools on Algorand, and we need to deepen this. And we have been really hard at work trying to find solutions for this. So that's pillar number one. And pillar number two is about bringing new products, right? Just continue developing the ecosystem, supporting existing projects, onboarding new projects to have more advanced tooling, have different kind of products, experimental products, just having more stuff out there for people to have fun, try, and especially increase composability in the ecosystem, right? So those are the core pillars that we're focusing on. And maybe I'm going to start with the first one, which is about increasing liquidity. It is, it has been very much to our knowledge for quite some time that we need deeper liquidity, especially in stable coins in our ecosystem. And we have been, looking at this very closely over the last, several months. And Marc, you have been, part of all these conversations. It involves a lot of people internally in the foundations. We explored many avenues. And I am very glad we have a world-class CLO in Jenny in the foundation now, because if she wasn't here, maybe the ideas that I suggested would land me in jail. So I'm very glad she's here because she's certainly keeping me out of jail of all the things that I keep suggesting. But jokes aside, I think she has given us a lot of clarity on what foundations cannot, and should not be doing with regards to liquidity. And I think it has become clear to us over the last few months that, without naming names, but I think many other foundations out there that are doing things that are not necessarily safe and can put those foundations in potential danger in the future. And that's something that we want to avoid at all costs, right? It's very easy to ask the foundation to do X, Y, or Z, but if we do Z and that's a misstep, it's a step in the wrong direction, and down the line, years down the line, we suffer, nobody's going to give us kudos for trying. Everybody's going to blame us for doing the wrong thing and putting the whole thing in prejudice, right? So we have to be extremely careful. So all of this to say that we explored a bunch of avenues internally. We had to scrap most of those ideas because those were not able, we wouldn't be able to execute them. But I think now we're very close to landing on a potential solution that's going to drive a lot of volume in our ecosystem. At the same time, that's going to be increasing TVL, and especially in the major assets for stablecoins, USDC, the Algo token itself, some of the most prominent wrapped assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some Algorand specific ecosystem tokens. And I think, by saying all of this, I think it's pretty obvious where I'm going, but I'm not going to say the word. I'm going to let people figure out, what I'm talking about. But I think we're hopefully we're close to bringing this solution to our chain that's just going to make everything a lot better, smoother, with deeper liquidity for people to be able to do, much larger swaps on chain with minimal slippage. So I think that's Marc. I mean, I don't want to give a date because people are going to yell at me if we don't fix it, if we don't deliver on it. But trust me, it's priority number one for us. And have been trying. I'm hoping that by end of year maximum, this is on chain. But of course, we're shooting for much earlier than this. But it's just a very complicated deal to sign. So it is what it is. But trust me, and Algo fam, trust us when we say there's a bunch of people in the foundation that this is priority number one, and we're talking about this and moving forward every single day. So as soon as we clear the last hurdles, this is going to be live, and it's going to be highly beneficial to the entire ecosystem. But not giving a date, Marc, because I don't want to be on the receiving end of a lot of complaining. We're just doing our best, okay? And it will be soon, as soon as it will be live, as soon as it can go live. So that's pillar number one, right? About the increased liquidity. And then pillar number two is about just bringing new products on chain, right? We already have all the basic building blocks on Algorand. You have the lending markets, the CDPs, the AMMs, the clubs. We have lots of incredible routers, and the routers we have on Algorand are on par, if not better, than the routers in every other chain by making use of some of the features we discussed before, atomic grouping, instant finality. All these things just enable swapping through routers on Algorand to be a vastly superior user experience than any other chain that I've tried, and I've tried most of them, if not all of the major ones out there. So it's truly about taking this experience to the next level, right? And taking to the next level means bringing on chain either through existing projects or new projects more advanced functionality. And here I'm talking about all the things that people have been asking for, that we have been working behind the scenes to try to bring to life. We're talking about the clams, the concentrated liquidity AMMs. We're talking about what else can I say? Maybe balancer style pools, unbalanced AMM pools of following basically curve and balancer. We're talking about, what else can I say? Maybe other LSTs. We're talking about decentralized index funds, that basically just a collection or a basket of ecosystem specific tokens that people can get an easy exposure for. We're talking about yield bearing stablecoins. We're talking about new lending markets, and this I had already mentioned before about Compx, working on theirs, but there's other things potentially in the works. And then maybe getting into the more interesting, more different things lately, which is all this new class that is emerging of structured DeFi products, right? So basically generating staking yield on non-yield generating assets. So here we're talking about your Bitcoin LSTs, your tokenized metal LSTs that you can bring some yield to them by doing structured products in which you as a user come and you deposit your BTC and say, hey, I have a whole BTC and I want to generate some yield on it. So you can deposit your BTC, and then behind the scenes, this products, they're going to basically take your BTC, use that as collateral to basically borrow, stablecoin or algos on it, and then they can basically open long and short positions at the same time. The long positions they stake, they generate some yield, and then that yield is converted back to your original asset, in this example, Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden, you basically have Bitcoin that's generating, yield for you. So that's a pretty cool product. That's it's a new class of products that has been emerging in other ecosystems, and we are working with some potential providers to bring this to Algorand in the near future. So there's a whole bunch of things that we're exploring. These are probably the ones that are closest to coming to life. There are other things that we're pursuing, but these are maybe a little bit further down the road that I don't feel comfortable sharing as of now. Just not get hopes really high. But trust me when I say that we're very committed to increasing liquidity, and that is priority number one. But also just bringing more fun stuff for people to do on chain.
And there's also the interoperability piece, right? The fact that Wormhole NTT will go live very soon on Algorand, that Allbridge is coming before the end of the year that allows kind of interoperability of stablecoins and transfers of stablecoins from one chain to another. That will also actually add a lot to the overall experience on Algorand and as well as the liquidity.
Absolutely. And I think, and I'm very excited and bullish for all of that, because going back to the point that we mentioned several times, the experience on Algorand is incredible. And all of these routers, like they're truly magic. Like the routers on Algorand, they're truly magical. And then once you have, NTT live, and then you have Allbridge with all these different stable coins flowing through Algorand, that means that you are bringing more liquidity on chain. You are also spreading liquidity more, which is not a great thing if you look through a very simplistic lens, because you just want deeper pools of the main assets. But the thing is, the layer one of Algorand is highly performant, and it's super cheap to transact on, that the routers do all the magic for you. So it doesn't matter if the liquidity is spread across many different pools, of many different assets across many different venues, different DEXs, AMMs, order books, etc. It doesn't matter. The routers take care of all of that for you, and then you get always the best price, the best price efficiency for all of your swaps, right? So I'm very excited about all of this, because at the end of the day, all of this just brings more activity on chain. And by activity, I'm talking about more volume, more fees being generated to all the liquidity providers, but also just more activity on the chain itself. It's more transactions per second going, because you have more and more assets and more pools and more venues being hit by users and routers and bots all the time. So it's just more transactions being um, processed on chain, which increases our TPS, increases the revenues being generated by the protocol, which increases also the staking rewards that people that participate in Algorand staking receive, right? So it's truly like a win-win-win, right? Everybody wins with this. So I'm super excited and bullish about all of this.
Great. Thank you, Fred. So let's switch to Joseph. Let's talk to us about Pera. What's the alpha on Pera? What's coming? What's coming in the next few months?
So you know us, we always have like 10 balls in the air at once. So in Q3 just ended, but our main focus for this quarter was to get our swap more modernized and to get our, just going with the routers that Fred was talking about. We actually took all the routers in the ecosystem and we packaged them up into one API. So if you're new to Algorand or you're a developer, you can use this API to instantly give your users the best swap rates across the entire blockchain. So we made it super simple for users, and we actually have a few integrations that went live recently. For example, our highlight being Alpha Arcade. So this kind of fits into the whole conversation, but fee generation is extremely important. And a lot of products are starting to use stablecoins as their main source of fee revenue. But the issue comes with layer one objects. You just need to have that new asset in order to place a bet. But by using our API, they were able to use to add a swapper basically in front of the prediction placer. So from there, you can use Algo, you could use any meme coin, you could use any ASA that's currently in a liquidity pool with USDC and be able to swap. This helps remove a lot of friction, but also for the dApp side of things, they can get a more steady stream of revenue and be able to reach that profitability plateau a lot sooner than risking everything on a volatile asset or anything of that sort. So that was our main focus for Q3. But going into Q4, getting multi-sig done, just having multi-sig wallets in Pera is a huge for industrial users or just people who want to keep their accounts safe. We do have ledger support, so you can create multi-sigs of your ledger wallets and have more like two-factor authorization if you need to. So these are other ways that we're helping to improve the security. But the other thing is passkey support. So one of the main things right now, with passwords are becoming obsolete as time goes on. With quantum coming, passkeys are the way to go, especially with all these phishing attempts. If you have passwords, you should really switch to passkeys. That's just a general security point. But with Pera, we are going to be allowing users to store their passkeys. And the main difference between this and using Google Authenticator or 1Password is there's no centralized entity that are owning your passkeys. It's you. Your 24-word C phrase from your universal wallets will store those passkeys. So now moving forward, you can log into websites decentrally with passkeys you own. And the best part about it, the metadata that you normally transfer when you sign in with Google or sign in with Apple will be fully decentralized. So the only thing the website will be able to get from you is your wallet account. So it's a really nice way for us to kind of decentralize the whole passkey process. And then looking forward to our...
I can expect that every single OG Web3 user will actually, as soon as feature is live, this is unique in crypto, right? I don't think there's any feature like this that exists in crypto. So if you're an OG Web3 user that is excited about decentralization and privacy, this is what you got to do, right? You got to download Pera and start storing your Web2 passkeys inside Pera and take self-custody of your passkeys.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're really trying to get down to the back to the basics. Web3 kind of went through a lot of twists and turns where we kind of got away from the decentral and the trilemma and everything of that sort. But we're really trying to get back into that mindset where, we're really caring about the core principles of what blockchain and decentralization mean. And in addition to that, for next year, a lot of things that we're going to be focusing on are the basics, the inflows and outflows into the wallet. Like, can we get, cross-chain swaps and NTTs natively built inside the app? I think that would be great for the liquidity and the volume on the chain. In addition to that, like, can we, offer USDC as an on-ramp instead of just Algo? So these are the ways that we're going to be looking at how can we help increase the liquidity on Algorand, and how can we also make the process and the UX super simple so it feels like the person is using an app that they've already used, like PayPal, Venmo, or Robinhood, rather than using like a Web3 wallet. So we're really trying to bridge that gap between the crypto world and the Web2 world and really make it feel like a seamless experience for the end user.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so I think it's time to close this session. How can users get in touch with you? How can they continue to explore Algorand's DeFi? Where do they go?
Follow Pera Wallet on Twitter. We're at Pera Wallet app. We're on Instagram. The website's perawallet.app. We also have a Discord. If you want to follow me, it's at loafpickle, LOAF pickle. And we're very responsive. Customer support and customer experience are one of our very priorities. So if you have any feedback for us, any complaints, anything we're doing wrong, anything we're doing right, always feel free. We're open door, and we really take customer feedback to heart in order to make the best product that we possibly can.
People gotta follow, Loaf, Pera, and Algo Foundation across all the channels, mainly on X, but across all the channels to stay on top of everything that the Algo Foundation has been doing and Pera has been doing. And if you want to get, maybe some more DeFi specific news and ecosystem roundups, follow me on X at Fred Estante. Very easy to find.
And Fred didn't mention this, but Fred does this weekly update on Saturday mornings. And therefore it's a must follow, because if you want to know what's going on with Algorand DeFi, his weekly update will tell you exactly what you need to know, what's happening in our DeFi ecosystem. So on that note, it's time to switch to the last part of this podcast, which is when Fred does his ecosystem DeFi update. So Fred, tell us what's happening.
All right, Mark. Well, I do have some great updates to share from our ecosystem in the last few days since the last episode. So let's jump right in, okay? In the DeFi side of things, Haystack released a lot of updates around swapping, rewards distribution in the app. They added P&L statistics, activity feed, and many other goodies, including the Haystack leaderboard, so you can measure yourself up against the other DGens using the product. Really cool stuff. Highly recommend everybody to check it out. Folks Finance has unlocked the Founders Pass NFTs, which are basically all now free to be transferred, sold, traded, etc. Whatever you want to do, you're free to do so. The Alpha Arcade team made another round of USDC fee payouts with the fees from the platform collected in the last few days. And the team also joined an incredible conversation, a great chat with the Generation Infinity, the Genfinity IO team on X. So just go around and catch the recording. The link is everywhere. It was a great chat. I highly recommend that you check it out. We just made a very cool announcement with Allbridge that basically announced an upcoming integration with Algorand for a dedicated stablecoin bridge for our ecosystem. This is going to be an excellent news for our entire DeFi ecosystem, and we cannot wait to share more news in the upcoming weeks. Stay tuned. As discussed before, Tinyman has just updated and completed the update for the minimum thresholds for the recurring orders. So if you are a Tinyman governor and you have Tiny Power, just go check out the new thresholds. And they also just launched a lot of brand new farms for the month of October. So check it out. And still in the DEX world, Pact shared a really nice blog post discussing the new reward schema, Algoland, product updates, and some metrics and statistics of the platform. Definitely worth a read, so go check out the blog in their social media channels, in their website. Switching a little bit towards the gaming world, Astro Explorer, your favorite arcade, now is sponsored by Compx. So whenever you're playing your fun games, you might see some Compx ads just flying around. And still in the ad space, I'm loving to see this because of all this interconnection between the products in our ecosystem. Realms, which is creating the NF Turbo, the racing game based on NFTs, which is fire and it looks amazing and is currently in closed beta. They recently announced they're going to be selling some billboard space. The first wave has sold out, the second wave is underway. So I cannot wait to play the game and see logos and ads from all the different ecosystem projects around. This is going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait to play the game. And Cosmic Champs hosted a live stream of a market on Alpha Arcade. We announced this a few days ago. Alpha Arcade launched the functionality for you to host a market with a live stream. Really cool stuff. They already hosted a bunch of live streams over the last few days, and Cosmic Champs did one as well. And then on the tech side of things, ASA Stats, your favorite portfolio manager, now displays your Algoland campaign points. So, if you're participating in Algoland, you can use ASA Stats to also just keep track of all the points that you have accumulated through all the quests. Pera Wallet released lots of updates on both iOS and Android. So if you're a user, make sure to update to the latest version. And one of the most interesting features they just launched is a whole revamp and update to the swap feature that basically allows you, the end user, to choose which router you want to use for your orders to go through when you're making a swap. So that gives you full control of whatever different product you want to use when swapping around an Algorand. So it's great functionality. And once again, I highly recommend that everybody just goes out there and updates their Pera Wallet to the latest version, regardless if you are on iOS or Android. And Marc, that's all I have for today. We have some really good updates. Remembering we just had another round of updates a couple of days ago in the last episode, but this ecosystem is on fire, a lot of stuff happening. And of course, Algoland is killing it. It is so much fun. I'm loving to see all the engagement and all the activity on socials, of course, and all the activity on chain and all of our dApps. So, to the Algo fam, all the users out there, both old and new, if you still haven't completed your DeFi quests, you have time. And actually, even if you missed the quests in the first 2 weeks, you got time. You can get started now, okay? So hurry up. Don't leave it for the last minute. But if you still haven't started, it's not a problem. Just go there, sign up, start completing your quests, and make your way all the way to the DeFi week, which we're on right now. Get everything out of the way, have fun, enjoy all these products and dApps, and stay tuned because next week we're going to have the NFT week. Should be a lot of fun as well. So Marc, that's all I have for today. And Algo fam, I'll see you around through all these amazing Algoland quests. See you next week.
Okay, thank you, Fred. And all right, everyone, that's all we have. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Fred, again for joining us on this DeFi Pact episode. Make sure to follow Joseph, make sure to follow Fred, and come back here next week for the next episode of Verifiably Random. Thanks, everyone.